Today I will be doing a continuation on my speech on colonias in the United States, primarily in Texas. Colonias can be found in any state that borders along Mexico. So these states would be Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and California. Out of all of those states, however, Texas does have the largest number of colonias. Texas has about 2,294 colonias to date. These cover about 1,200 to 1,300 square miles. Many of you may still be wondering what a colonia is. Well, a colonia was generally created when immigrants came over to the United States and needed somewhere to live. These people didn't have a lot of money, so what they would do is buy very cheap land and use things like cardboard, wood, scrap pieces of metal, anything they could get their hands on, and would build makeshift houses. Many of these homes, for this reason, did not have running water, plumbing, electricity, anything that you and I would be used to in a normal home. These colonias do not have. Many things are being done to improve the conditions of those living in colonias. However, there are still colonias that need help. Many of the colonias now do at least have running water. Those that don't are still in what's called a red status. So those are the ones primarily that I'm speaking on that do need the most help. The reason why colonias are a detriment to society and why we do need to help fix them is because they are a health risk to the others who may not live in colonias but come in contact with those that do. Many of these colonias that don't have running water or electricity, things like that, what you'll find outside of their homes are unpaved roads that are not level. And so in these unlevel portions, you'll find septic tank sewage actually pulling up around the sides of the road. And this is because the only way that these people can flush and do things like that using water is with a poorly made septic tank that really is not even big enough to help them with their needs. So that being said, with the colonias that do have this issue in them with the poor plumbing, what causes the high risk to us as citizens living around them is higher rates of hepatitis, salmonella, diphtheria. All of those things become much more prevalent. And I'm finding all of this off of the Secretary of State's website. That has been, throughout all my research that I've done on colonias, the best information to date that I've been able to find. Many people that live in colonias typically live there and have purchased land there because they have no other choice. So many of them have no jobs. They don't have these jobs because they can't even afford a vehicle to get to a job. So if you see here, it's just a never-ending cycle of poverty for many of these people that live here. Out of the people living in the lower Rio Grande Valley, colonias of course speaking here, about 20 to 60% dealt with unemployment out of the rest of society. So about 60% of those people do suffer from poverty. The housing is also a second issue that needs to be addressed. Previously, I did state that they were makeshift homes. Some of them are a little bit nicer. If you do go into colonias that are older, of course, as they've had extra money, they will find ways to build and add on to their homes with better quality products. But if you go into some of the younger colonias, which there still are many, you will see that many of them are very dilapidated. So these homes are not built to code and they are not honestly livable. When the water and sewer lines, if they are placed out there, most of the homes don't even meet the county codes or the building codes. So if they don't meet those codes, the water lines aren't going to be ran to those homes. So even if they could have access to water, they're not going to be able to until they get their homes to code, which again starts that never-ending cycle where they don't have the money and so they can't better their lives. It's very important to remember that as citizens, colonias, they are prevalent. And while we may not live in them, it doesn't mean that other people that we may come in contact with don't. So action in Texas and in any state for that matter is something that really needs to be considered. There are several things I've found through my research this semester on what we can do as citizens and as just humane people to help those living in this situation, to help the children especially that are born into situations like this. One of those, I'll go ahead and start with the one about getting water to them. Texas A&M University, primarily the Kingsville branch, does have a program with its engineering students that goes out to some of these colonias and helps implement running water for them and helps them clean up their areas. So this would be a great place to start, and you can find that at tamuk.edu. The second one, of course, would be to contact your state senator. I know for Texas, ours is Greg Abbott. What I would recommend doing is contacting him about colonias in your area or a colonia that you may feel specifically touched by, and request that those people have running water. And I feel that if we have enough people become concerned with this issue, that something will be done. I do know that in the past 20 years, we have done a lot to help these colonias, but we shouldn't forget about those colonias that are still sitting out there waiting for us to remember them and to get them help. So thank you for watching my video, and thank you for a great semester.